Hi, I'm Rowan.
I am Zach.
And you're watching episode 3.19 of In the Zone. Today we're going to be discussing the Twilight Zone episode, The Hunt. We're going to spoil the entire thing. Anything to say before we start?
Yikes.
So, we start the episode with the classic Twilight Zone harmonica. I wonder how many episodes there have been that involve a harmonica score. Feels like a lot.
I have not wondered that many times.
Oh, so it's like one of these peaceful rural log cabin episodes. So this guy is bringing wood into the house. His name's Hyder Simpson, which is way too close to Homer. And then his wife, Rachel
Oh,
Simpson.
but we don't learn his name for an awkward amount of time.
I was thinking about that while I was watching the episode. I was thinking about name expository dialogue and how there really wasn't any for this episode.
The thing is, you don't need a name expository dialogue.
That's the thing.
You can be like, I think it's
don't.
even, yeah, you could just have his wife be like, "Oh, Hyder, back from chopping the wood."
No, but you don't even need to know a character's name.
That's true.
Like, sometimes it just does not matter. So, his wife, Rachel, she doesn't like having the dog in the house. The dog, Rip. But then he does like Rip, because Rip saved his life, he says. We never learn how Rip saved his life. And then he's like, "What's the last time you got yourself kissed?" "I bet it was the spring of 24. Well, I've been thinking I was gonna give you a kiss myself. Now stay away from me." And he kisses her.
Yeah.
Old people, old people.
Yeah.
Old people, old people. She gives him some food, and then she's like, "We've been married for 50 years.
Thanks for sharing.
And then, yeah, they're like, we have endured a lot together. And then he's like,
Thanks for sharing.
"Rip and I were going hunting for raccoons." She's like, "Oh, I don't want you to go. I saw blood on the moon. And the other day a bird flew in and he sat on your side of the bed." He's like, "Those omens, they're not real." So he leaves. And then, Rod, what was the funny thing Rod said? Oh, he was like,
Oh, yeah.
He was like, "Usually the hunt ends with one tired old man, one tired dog,
One battle heart.
and one or more extremely dead raccoons." Rod's just sitting on a stump in the nature, paid to black. So we come up and, they're going hunting, and then a dog finds a raccoon, and then there's a really long chase scene. He chases after it. The raccoon goes up a tree, and the dog tries to go, but then he's not up the tree, and the
I
raccoon
found this a
tricks
little
him.
hard to watch.
Why?
It was like,
Because it was boring, or because a dog was about to eat a raccoon?
it was just a little unpleasant. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it was because they were shooting raccoons for fun.
So then, I guess the raccoon tricked him, because it made it seem like he went up a tree, but then he wasn't up the tree. Rip dives in the water to catch a raccoon. Hyder Simpson is like, "Well, I'm gonna go on to save you, you dumb dog." Then he dives in the water and, instantly just dies.
Here's where this episode takes a turn from the mediocre to the uncomfortable.
So it's the next morning, and the dog and Hyder are out of the water. They're, sleeping. And then they wake up. The dog wakes up Hyder. So they go to walk home. And then they see these two guys digging a grave. And they reveal through their good expository dialogue that they're burying Rip, who's the dog.
Yeah, fun fact, not uncomfortable expository dialogue, well-written part.
And then they're like, "Oh, an old man Simpson's dead." Simpson shows up, and he tries to talk to them. He's like, "What are you doing?" Even though it's quite obvious that they're burying someone. But then they don't notice him. And he's like, keeps trying to talk, and he's like, "Well, you gotta leave, you're digging a hole in my property." And then they won't respond. And then he gets a gun, and he's about to shoot him. But then they talk about, "Well, we are burying a dog. It's sad to bury a dog."
I wonder if they died and are in the afterlife. As soon as you see those two guys out of the woods digging a grave, it's like...
Well, as soon as you see them digging a grave, they have expository dialogue to reveal that it's Rip.
Yeah,
they're like,
that's true.
we're digging the dog Rip. So it's not really a twist as much as it is dramatic irony.
Well, yes,
it's
but
not
the dramatic irony is just a little hard because it just takes so long.
So then they go home, and then his wife is sad, and she's wearing black, and she doesn't notice him. And then this religious priestman or something, he comes and he's like, "Oh well, Hyder Simpson wasn't a religious man, but he's entitled to a Christian burial." And then Hyder's like, "Standing right here, I'm right here. He's like, if you're gonna bury Hyder Simpson, don't you think Hyder Simpson should have some sort of say in the matter? And then these guys come to take the body, the casket, and then there's like, oh, we're all in a dream. We're about to wake up. It's like, what? And then he's like,
that's the first sensible conclusion that he's made, so like, okay.
And then they go to carry out his body in a casket, and he's like, hey, what you boys got in there? What you boys got in there? What's in the box, see? What's that in the box, see? And then we fade to black. So we come up, and he is, he's following them to get buried, and then he still has no idea what's going on, and then a fence appears, and he's like, oh, I've never seen this here fence. And so he tries to go around the fence, and he comes across this guy, and the guy actually notices him and talks to him, and then he's like, what's your name? How old are you? How did you die? Die? And Hyder's like, well, I'm not dead, I'm right here. And then he's like, well, you wouldn't be here if you weren't dead. Hyder's like, no, I didn't die, this is what I did. And then he's recounting the events of the previous night, and he's like, oh, wait a minute, that sort of seems like I might have died. So then, the guy's describing what's beyond the gate, and it's like the Christian heaven. And he's like, oh, you must be St. Peter. And then he's like, okay, yeah, you can come in, but there are no dogs allowed. And he's like, dog heaven's up the road. And then Hyder's like, I'm not coming. I want to be with Rip. But then he's like, well, you won't be let in dog heaven. Peter's like, well, you can come in the gate, Hyder, and then I'll sneak the dog through the fence. And he's like, no, he's coming in with me. And then Peter, takes Rip, but then Rip gets mad. And then he also mentions, oh, there's no hunting in heaven. And then Hyder's like, no, I'm not coming in. This doesn't sound fun. I'm going to go down the road. And he's like, there's nothing down that road. It leads to nowhere. He's like, well, I guess you can think it over. Tell me when you want to come in. Then Hyder walks and he sits on a log and he's like, well, we're going to stick together. We're not going to that lame place. Then a guy shows up. He's like, I'm looking for Hyder and Rip. And he's like, oh, yes, that's us. And he's like, well, you can mosey along to heaven. And he's like, no, I don't want to go there. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? It's like, that dude up there. He's like, what? No, that wasn't heaven. That was hell. He was trying to trick you because they always want people to come. He's like, they were afraid that Rip would smell the brimstone. That's why they didn't let him in.
Last I recall, you go to heaven or you go to hell. It's not like you get an opportunity and they're like, oh, you got to heaven, but then they're actually tricking you.
The rule that dogs can smell brimstone was it's just such a weird random thing that makes no sense. They just threw it in to work for the plot. So it's like what was going to happen is he was walking down the path and then it gradually becomes hell and he's was going to turn back because his dog was screaming. It doesn't make sense. So then the guys are like, even a devil can't fool a dog. Something I do not like about this episode is the way that's like, oh, the dog's a hero. No, the dog couldn't do anything. It's not like the dog was so smart and he outwitted the devil. The only reason they didn't go is because Hyder...
He wouldn't allow the dog and Hyder was like...
Yeah, and Hyder didn't want to go in without the dog. It wasn't like the dog was outwitted the devil. So then they go down to real heaven, and then he's like, there's hunting in heaven. I wonder, is human heaven like raccoon hell or something?
Wait, what if you just make a statement about hell and he dies and he goes to hell and then he just gets hunted by raccoons the whole time?
That would be awesome. That would be so good. Hyder asks, oh, is Rachel gonna be here?
Well,
no. He's like, is Rachel gonna get fooled? And he's like, no. And it's like, why? She doesn't have a dog. Anyways, it doesn't make sense how
she's an actual Christian.
Why would it? Oh, I think you're right. Ow, and I hurt myself. So anyways, and then the guy says, and she'll be here right away, very soon.
Yeah.
Oh, great. What a delight. What a great thing to say.
Yes.
How horrible.
Your wife will be dead.
Hey, your wife's gonna die pretty soon.
Great.
It's like... oh, what a great note to end the episode on. What is the plot of this episode?
Yikes.
Is the plot hunting? Is the plot wandering around and realizing you're dead? Or is the plot being tricked by the devil, but then not? It's bizarre. It's not like a clear beginning, middle, end.
I feel like if you, there are a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, and this is one of them, where if you had, tried to summarize the plot in 2 sentences, you would have been like, we should not produce this.
Like, you would realize how dumb it is?
Yeah, a man dies in a raccoon hunt. Then he realizes that he is dead, but is saved from the devil because the devil won't let his dog in.
Sometimes we say that there was a good premise, but they didn't execute it well. What is the premise? This is bad. This is just a bad script.
It's slow, it's uncomfortable, it makes very little sense, and it doesn't have a point.
This episode is unbelievably bad. Like, you just think the Twilight Zone, it's like it's not gonna get any worse, and then it does. Another thing I want to point out, it's like, oh, the dog's a hero.
Yeah,
you made this point. No, but in addition to that, the dog is the reason he died.
That's true.
If the dog wasn't dumb enough to jump in the water to get a raccoon, then they would both be alive. I thought the expository dialogue when the guys were burying the dog and they're like, oh, it's a dog, I thought that was pretty good, actually. It didn't feel
that was solid, but the opening expository dialogue was just so
I guess we've been married for 50 years.
Yeah.
Actually, the music's pretty good. I like the harmonica. I like the music they had when they died. There was a cool shot of water. Like not when they died, but the morning after they died.
Yeah, the cinematography was okay.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's not boring. I mean...
Yes, it's boring.
Yeah, I know, yes,
I'm dead!
Right.
No!
Actually,
how
I don't know why I said that. It is so boring. I thought Hyder Simpson was a good actor.
Alright.
He wasn't, like, amazing, but yeah, it was good.
He was a little distractingly not likable.
Why wasn't he likable? He was a fine, affable old man.
Oh yes, very affable. Shooting raccoons for fun.
What could be more fun than putting a bullet through the heart of a raccoon, sir?
I don't know, I felt like we were supposed to like him, and I just did not.
I didn't dislike him. He was like, alright. 3, 2, 1, 3.
1.5.
Wow, 1.5.
Rating split.
Zach
Rating split.
really did not like this one. And he likes dogs more than I do.
Yeah.
Well, exciting things on In the Zone. Next episode, we're going to be discussing Showdown with Rance McGrew. See you then.